All right, awesome. Well, again, thank you to everybody for being flexible in us having to change the link for some technical difficulties. My name is Paul Sell, and I'll be helping kind of guide us through this pre-application conference for the Reengagement Opportunity Grant for 2025-27. As a note, this is going to be recorded, so I'm going to have Tanisha go ahead and start that recording if she has not already. And on the screen, you'll notice that there's a lot of our grant staff that will be aiding in this presentation throughout the day or throughout this hour or so together. In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and have people self-introduce themselves when we get to their part of the presentation for the record on that. But as we start, I just want to send a huge thank you to our admin staff who are behind the scenes trying to sort out our link issues, but also then helping support the pre-application conference and the communications around these RFAs. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Bethany. So next slide, please, to introduce herself as our single point of contact.
Hi, I'm Bethany Moreland. I am the procurement specialist that is assigned to this RFA, as well as the two others that will be coming down the pipeline in the near future. I will be the single point of contact for this RFA, which means that if you have any questions or concerns or anything, those need to be emailed to me and not to any of the YDO staff. Please do email me your questions. Please do not call me. I cannot take questions via a phone call. They must be in writing via email. So my email is listed on the RFA and is in this informational session as well. This is just a reminder that the statements and responses to questions addressed during the presentation are considered non-binding until published in the official question and answer document as part of this RFA. Please refer to the published RFA and any addendum for official RFA information, and you can find those documents on the YDD website linked here.
Awesome. Thank you, Bethany. And appreciate Bethany here to help support this work and be our single point of contact. So I'm assuming many of you may have joined these conferences before, pre-application conferences before. Just to kind of a note of the session overview, we're going to cover the kind of the welcome and housekeeping as well as our agency and grant overview. And then Jared's going to take us through the Reengagement Opportunity Grant Scope, as well as the application evaluation information. Bill and Sally will be joining a little bit to help aid in that as well. Throughout all of these different sessions or sections, we will be trying to answer some of the questions via chat, as well as I may come back on and pause if it's pertinent to the slide that's on the screen. And then we'll wrap up today with how to apply, so some SM apply information, and then Jared will be back on screen to talk about the RFA timeline and what that means to you as applicants within that work. Also, just kind of a note, we would encourage you that we are recording this, and we have tried to design both the PowerPoint as well as this presentation to aid you in your application. So please revisit both the recording as well as this information. But with all of the information that we are sharing, I can't recommend enough that you do review and read the actual RFA documents, because that's going to be where the most accurate and detailed information will be contained. Next slide, please. All right, so just a few housekeeping things. We talked about keeping your mics muted, appreciate that. Please do use the chat function, and we will probably be going back and adding some of those answers to that chat, so just be monitoring that throughout. And also, we may not be able to answer all of the questions due to time, as well as some may require some follow-up questions. So as Bethany stated, statements and responses to questions addressed during the presentation are considered non-binding until published in the official question and answer document, which will be published and posted on the YDO website on or around Thursday, May 15th, 2025. With that, we'll go ahead and get into the scope of the grant overview. So next slide, please. This next slide is the YDO mission and vision. Please use that to reference, because obviously we want our grants to be connected to our mission, vision, and equity statement. Next slide, please. As Bethany mentioned, there are going to be several other requests for applications or RFAs coming up in the coming weeks. And so we wanted to start this presentation by outlining our youth grants portfolio for this coming 2025-27 biennium. Today, we're obviously here to talk about our Reengagement Opportunity Grant, which serves ages 14 through 24, and it's focused on youth reconnection to education. In the coming weeks, and we'll provide more information at the end of this presentation around the Job and Work Readiness grant, which primarily serves ages 16 through 24 and is focused on youth connection to workforce. The other one to expect this fall, the other RFA to expect this spring, is a community investments. And that primarily serves ages 6 through 19 and focused on positive youth development. Again, the reason we wanted to take time to show these three RFAs because they're going to be released sequentially, but we want you to make sure that you are able to apply in the most appropriate RFA for your program. And just a note, some of you may have applied or even received grants with youth violence and gang reduction, or in previous bienniums with youth violence and gang prevention. That is a RFA that will be discussed further in fall of 2025. So note that that is still on our youth grants portfolio, but is not a RFA that will be released this spring. So going back to the Reengagement Opportunity Grant, if we go to the next slide, you can see the re-engagement goals. And so really the main goals of the Reengagement Opportunity Grant are to reconnect youth back to high school level education. That's done through outreach and delivering education, training, and support services that are leading toward a high school graduation or completion. In the process of re-engaging youth, we do look to increase access to career pathways in post-secondary, and that's through providing re-engagement services to meet the needs of individual eligible youth. I'm also going to pause on this slide because there's some pieces I want to draw everybody's attention to. So you might notice some random capitalized words inside of these sentences. Those are really important and done purposely. If you see a capitalized words such as re-engagement services, that is a defined term in the RFA. So when you'd want to look in the definition sections of the RFA. You will also notice on slides that have RFA specific information, we've tried to include the RFA section down in the bottom right-hand corner of each of the slides. Next slide, please. This next slide is really the beginning part of the RFA. And so it really discusses the purpose of re-engagement opportunity grants in that they are designed to fund community-based re-engagement efforts across the state to identify and serve youth ages 14 through 24 who leave high school before earning a high school diploma or its equivalent. And really understanding the purpose of the grant will help aid in your decision-making in which RFA to apply to. The key thing to note with re-engagement opportunity grants, the required age is 14 through 24. That is stated in legislation. So that is a firm 14 to 24 age range. Next slide, please. New with this upcoming biennium, as an agency, we have set up some youth grant application limits. So this is a broader slide, and you'll notice that re-engagement opportunity grant is highlighted in blue. And so as an applicant, any applicant can submit one application in re-engagement opportunity, and they are still eligible to submit other applications in other upcoming RFAs. Just as a reminder to applicants is that each program or each application needs to be designed to provide supports for one program in one location, different programs in one location, or the same programming for youth in different geographic service areas. The idea of that is to be very clear that if you are receiving multiple youth development Oregon grants, they're not designed to be braided funding for any one specific program or project. Next slide, please. Also new this year is our youth grants award limits. So I'm going to take just a moment to kind of break this slide down. There's a lot of information here. And again, you can see some capitalized words in this midst of these sentences. So for awards or even applications that have a current operational project and collect individual level participant data, there are limits of $200,000 and $300,000 per award and application. So if you want to think of what an operational project is, the simplest way to explain that would be is if someone was to come visit that project currently at time of application, we could see youth being served in that location, and then individual level participant data. Bill will go into much more detail on that later in the slide deck. In terms of the $200,000 and $300,000 application limits, if you are a returning re-engagement grantee from the 2021-23 biennium or the 2023-24 5 biennium, you would be considered a returning grantee and listed on the returning grantee attachment. If you are on that list, that would mean you can apply for up to $300,000 in the Reengagement Opportunity Grant for an operational program. If you're new to this type of RFA, or if you're new to YDO, you have a $200,000 limit for operational project. For programs that are looking to serve new programming, so you're looking to start in a new location or you're new to re-engagement in general, any of those awardees and applications are limited to $150,000 per award. I would also say and note that new to this next biennium is that each applicant has a $600,000 total awards across all 3 of these RFAs. So the Community Investment, Re-engagement Opportunity, and the Job and Work Readiness Grant. That'll be a piece that will be clarified in an addendum that'll be coming out shortly. But again, wanted to be clear in that that is a limit that will be applied across all of our grants. Also to note, and important to note, is that re-engagement opportunity grants do require that a successful applicant does collect individual level participant data across all award limits. I think that might be my last slide, but I'm going to pause just to make sure I can answer any quick questions. I will go back to those questions. It looks like there's a couple in chat. We'll work to address those, but I'm going to turn it over to Jared to dive deeper into the RFA scope.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jared Shaw. I'm a grant manager here at YDO. And as Paul said, I'll be taking you through the scope of the RFA and then diving a little bit into the application and evaluation requirements. Next slide, please. And next slide again, please. All right, so starting with applicant eligibility. So as Paul mentioned, again, in the bottom right corner, you will see the RFA section that corresponds to the information on the slide. So if you look at the RFA section 1.3, you'll see applicant eligibility, and that really discusses who is eligible to apply for a grant and what we expect that applicants will do with re-engagement funds. So simply to be eligible, all applicants will have to use re-engagement funds to serve youth living in Oregon and provide a re-engagement program to eligible youth. We will discuss who those eligible youth are in the coming slides, and be an eligible entity listed here on the right side. Now, if you do not see yourself in these entities on the right side, you can submit an appeal to apply, and if that appeal is successful, then you'll also be able to apply for this grant. And again, that process is outlined in section 1.3. Next slide, please. Section 2.4 of the RFA is going to take you through the scope. So this section really is the meat of what is required as part of this RFA, the eligible youth requirements, required services that you'll need to provide, partnership requirements, outreach plans, participant verification, and reporting requirements. So we really recommend that you go. It's a longer section. It's got a lot of subsections, but please make sure to draw your attention to section 2.4, and that will take you through a lot of that information. And we'll go through that now as well. Next slide, please. So first is eligible youth. So the Re-engagement Opportunity Grant is one of the grants at YDO where eligibility for youth participants is very clearly called out in statute. So in the laws for these programs, youth participating in these programs must fall into one of 4 eligibility categories, and that's A through D that you see here. So criterion A is youth 14 through 24 who are not currently enrolled in high school and have not earned a diploma. B, youth 14 through 21 who are defined as a dropout. So those are youth who are on an official dropout list. C, youth 14 through 24 who are recommended by an eligible referring entity, and those are defined in the RFA as well. And then criterion D, which is youth age 16 through 21 who are enrolled in high school, but who are 3 or more credits behind where they would be expected to be at that point in their high school career, and who have had irregular attendance or been removed from active enrollment in a school program due to absences. So as you, as grantees go through this program, it will be your responsibility to verify that all participants fall into one of these 4 categories. Next slide, please. Additionally, in addition to implementing a program for those eligible youth, this is a bit of a change this biennium. Applicants will also be required to serve or demonstrate the capacity to serve youth who have been unenrolled or been 10-day dropped. So those are those youth in eligibility criteria A or B. So that's either through partnerships or through your own programming. You will need to submit a plan to your grant manager describing how you have the capacity to reach out to and serve or potentially serve those youth who have been unenrolled from school. For those youth who are enrolled in school, so that's typically criterion D and a bit of sometimes criterion C, you'll need to demonstrate how that population requires those targeted re-engagement services as well in order to prevent them from leaving school. All right, next slide, please. Section 2.4.2 of the RFA dives into the re-engagement services. So these services listed here will go into detail over the next few slides, but it will be your responsibility to provide a full spectrum of these services to the youth that you serve, either directly through your own programming or through partnerships. Next slide, please. So that first service is outreach. Pretty straightforward. It is what it sounds like. It's really reaching out to youth who might be eligible for program participation. Again, there is that piece this time about identifying and enrolling youth who are not enrolled in high school and or have been 10-day dropped. And you will need to demonstrate to the grant manager that you can implement that plan within the 25 to 27 biennium. But outreach really is any sort of, all the methods of outreaching to youth for participation in these programs. Next slide, please. Educational services. So this is the big one. This is really the focus of this grant, as Paul mentioned, is access to educational services that can lead to a high school credential. So if you see here, educational services is very clearly defined as regular structured academic instruction or curriculum that leads to a high school credential or high school equivalency credential. So that includes diploma track education, GED options, GED preparation and testing, and post-secondary access. It does not include self-study GED preparation, single or elective only courses or coursework. So it really, the intention here is really to get youth enrolled into programs that will lead to a credential. So if you're tutoring a youth, for instance, who's not enrolled in school, that would not be sufficient for this grant. That they will have to be enrolled in some sort of program that leads to that credential. Now, that's not saying that you need to provide those services. You can see under the how here. That's either through direct service or partnership. So if you are partnering with a school, for instance, and you're enrolling youth into that school that will lead to a high school credential, that is fine. The purpose really is to just make sure that youth have access to those programs that will lead to that credential. And you would be need to provide that access to that youth either through their high school completion or until the end of the grant, whichever occurs first. Next slide, please. One-on-one case management is another service that we require that you'll provide. That, again, pretty straightforward. It is that one-on-one contact with youth to support their educational progress and retain them in the program. So that could look like coaching, mentoring, job and work readiness services, assistance with barrier removal. It's any number of things that make sure that there's one-on-one contact with the youth, again, either through your own services or through partnerships to make sure that youth are receiving the services they need and the supports they need to remain engaged. Next step. Next slide, please. And then college or career services. So we have been very intentional about trying to connect the Reengagement Opportunity Grant with some workforce initiatives and making sure that we create a seamless transition for youth who receive a credential to then have opportunities to move into college or career services or post-secondary options. So grantees this biennium will need to demonstrate the ability to connect youth to college and career services. Again, that is defined in the RFA. So that could be connection to a local workforce board. It could be connection to a local employer, connection to a community college, but you will need to demonstrate that either through your own direct services or through partnerships that you can connect youth to those options for career and post-secondary access. And again, that's during the educational services, or it could be as a transitional post-completion component. So if a youth has received their credential and they're ready for the next step, we would expect that grantees will be able to connect them to resources in the community for those next steps. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to be moving into some reporting requirements. For those who've been with us this biennium, this should look pretty familiar. There will be quarterly reports due every quarter as part of this grant, a quarterly narrative report, an expenditure report, a data report, and then an annual data report that really is a roll-up of all of the quarterly data reports that you've submitted. As Paul mentioned, importantly for this grant, you will be required to provide individual level participant information. So that requires capturing some intake and exit information with those youth. And we'll go into what that information is in the next couple slides. Next slide, please. All right, so diving into what the data report will look like, you'll be required to collect some youth identifiers. That's really legal first and last name, date of birth, some demographic information, so gender and race and ethnicity. Next slide. And then educational and employment details at both start and end date. So you'll need to capture educational and employment status and other characteristics such as that eligibility code, A through D, as we talked about, time out of school, whether the youth was referred by a recommending agency, the reasons for disengagement, etc. And then you'll need to track data as the youth goes through their time of enrollment, number of credits earned, number of official GED tests passed, whether they earn a high school credential, and any other additional achievements. And so that will be reported at the end when the youth exits the program. Again, those requirements are laid out in section 2.4.9 and attachment F of the RFA. Next slide, please. All right, so we'll be diving in now to some application and evaluation information.
Sorry, Jared, I'm going to jump in just here
Please.
quickly. Appreciate all the questions that are coming in through the chat. Again, for the record, Paul Sell with Youth Development Oregon. Appreciate all the questions that are coming in the chat. If you can see, we have folks working behind the scenes trying to get those addressed. So please be reviewing those as they come in. When we are posting the responses in chat, we are posting the question and then the answer directly below that. And so hopefully that is helpful within that. If you have clarifying questions around it, please feel free to continue to submit those in the chat. Thank you.
All right. Next slide, please, for some application and evaluation information. All right, so the application is going to be submitted through SurveyMonkey Apply. That is the platform that we've used for the last several biennia to submit applications. And there will be some unscored and scored evaluation items. So this chart really is just to show you what some of those unscored items are. We've got what the item is, where you'll see it. That's really all in SurveyMonkey Apply, the word limit, and then the RFA and attachment references. So a lot of these requirements appear throughout the RFA and in several attachments. So this just draws your attention to where you can find more information about those unscored items. But really, you'll have to certify a few statements, certifications. You'll provide a project title, an executive summary, an organization description, a community description, a budget, and letters of partnership. And we'll dive into some of this as well. But really, yeah, just demonstrating that these are just some unscored items. They will not be visible to reviewers or evaluators. It's just really collecting this information for grant managers. Next slide, please. Two of those unscored pieces to draw your attention to. One is that you'll need to provide a response on how you'll verify participant eligibility based on those criteria, and how you'll describe your program-based enrollment criteria used to determine eligibility for youth who do not meet those criteria, A or B. So those youth who are enrolled in school or referred, that will be unscored. And then another one that will be unscored is describing how your program will ensure educational services access, how you'll monitor their educational progress, and how you'll reconnect disengaged youth if that educational placement fails. So those are in sections 3.2.7 and 3.2.8 of the RFA. Next slide, please. Letters of partnership. So this is important. This biennium, all applications will be required to submit no less than 2, but no more than 4 letters of partnership. Those letters of partnership will be sent to your recommenders via SurveyMonkey Apply. So it will not be a letter that is sent to you that you upload. You will have to initiate that sending the letter through SM Apply. And so once you get into the application, it should be fairly clear how to do that. But there will be a task where you will select your recommender. The letters of recommendation will go to them. They'll complete it, and it will be sent back and uploaded into SurveyMonkey Apply. You'll notice when you're doing the application that it is set up into various tasks. And once the letters come back in, you will need to go back into that task and hit complete before you submit the application. So that's just something to keep in mind there. So you will want to reach out to your recommenders, make sure that they know that that request is coming. Make sure you're in communication with them and that those letters are uploaded before the application deadline, and that you go back in and hit complete in that task before you submit the application. Next slide, please. So there are a few additional requirements to think about as you are going through these letters. One is that if you are operating at a site that is dependent on a partner, so if you're operating, let's say, in a school and that is your partner, it's not your location, then a letter must be uploaded from that partner demonstrating that the agreement is active and expected to remain active through the grant period. And there will also be a requirement if you are subcontracting any funds of more than $25,000 or more. So if any money is flowing through you to another organization for $25,000 or more, that recipient, that contracted recipient, will need to also provide a letter describing what those services are. Next slide, please. And then specifically for the Reengagement Opportunity Grant, because we are trying to connect those educational services with work and career services, we are requiring also that letters of partnership for education and career be uploaded as well. So it's a little confusing here, but you can see if you are providing educational services directly, but you're not providing any college and career services, and again, that term is defined, then you will need to submit a letter from a college and career services provider. If you are providing college and career services directly, but you're not providing educational services that can lead to a high school credential, then one of the letters you submit will need to be from that educational services provider. If you are providing both educational services and college and career services directly, then you can submit a letter for either educational services or college and career services partnership. And if you're providing neither educational services or career services, but you're providing other re-engagement services, then you'll need to provide letters from both an educational service provider and a college and career services provider. So that's where that 2 to 4 letters comes into play. All right, next slide, please. I think I am handing it over to Sally at this point.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, team. Good morning.
Actually,
My name is
Sally, sorry. I need to quickly interrupt because we had a great question around can universities apply? So I'm going to jump back a little bit into that question. Thought it was important to clarify. So it asked if universities would need to send in an appeal. And we did answer that as appreciating the question. We need to further research. We have been researching that. And really, it's kind of a and sort of answer. So those universities that are considered a government agency would not need to submit the appeal, but a private university would. And so the piece that we're being recommended from Bethany is that if you are unsure, then we would encourage you to submit an appeal for that piece. It would not hurt your processes within that. We will also, though, continue to further address that in the Q&A process. Apologize for that. And if there needs to be some additional clarification on it, please do put that in chat and we'll keep working on that behind the scenes. Thanks, Sally.
all right. Thank you, everybody. Looks like there are a bunch of questions that are coming into the chat, and so please go ahead and keep popping those in there. Again, I'm Sally Deck. I am a grant manager at YDO, and I'm going to walk through a little bit of additional information. You'll see on the slide here a sample budget. So the budget is unscored, and this is a way for applicants to share information with grant managers, if the application is awarded, some things that you need to note: the actual list of appropriate expenses, what's allowable within each category, is in attachment D, sample project budget, and that will explain in detail what is allowable in each one of those categories. When you go into the application, you'll be able to have a text box to explain any subcontracts or subawards that are $10,000 or more over the duration of the grant. So over the 2 years of the grant, if you know that there will be 10,000 or more in a subaward to a single entity, each one of those needs to be noted. Also, as Jared just said, if you have a subcontract or a subaward that's $25,000 or more, not only will that need to be listed, but also there would need to be a letter of partnership from that entity. Next slide, please. All right, these are the evaluation items. Within the RFA, you'll be able to see the actual evaluation questions, the detailed questions. This is an overview of it to be able to show you that each question has a different word limit, and that each evaluation item has a separate points available. So what this means is that for evaluation item number 1, you need to be able to speak to your organization's capacity to implement the project. You have 300 words in which to do that, and that evaluation item is worth 10 points. Evaluation item number 2 is a spot for you to really speak to the youth who will be served in your proposed project. The third item is the actual project that you're proposing, so that is the largest word limit and is worth the most points. Our fourth item is around equity and access, ensuring that youth have equitable access to the proposed project. And then the fifth item is around community partnerships and support. So this would be an opportunity for you to speak to the partnerships for which you maybe don't have a letter of recommendation, but that you have connections throughout the community. This would be your opportunity to share that information in the application. Next slide, please. So in the RFA and in SurveyMonkey Apply, you'll find the detailed questions that will be evaluated, and the evaluation items each have some subpoints that each need to be very thoroughly answered. And so for the best evaluation of your proposed project, be sure that you clearly demonstrate and can describe well your organization, the youth you intend to serve, and the actual project. And do make a really clear and firm commitment of what you will undertake if you're awarded the grant. Next slide, and I'll pass it over to Bill Hansel.
Good afternoon, Bill Hansel. I am a grant manager and also do lead for data requirements. So regional assignments are, you can see the map. It's divided into 11 regions. It will be based on the applicant's established business address, and with the option to change if it's different than your primary service location. Primary service location is defined as where the bulk of youth being served are. Next slide, please. It will be a two-step process, and the first will be based on your regional assignment. Then scores will be tallied for all applicants in a region, with the top applicant winning a regional award. That also assumes that a minimum score has been met, and only one regional award per applicant or organization will be awarded. Next slide, please.
Hey, Bill, I apologize.
Yes. No problem.
We just got notification that apparently the slideshow is no longer showing.
I can see it, Paul.
Okay.
I can too.
All right, perfect. All right. So I apologize to that person. I see a lot of people commenting on that. So I apologize to the person that can't. I would try seeing if you can't reset your screen on that side. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul. I'm continuing after the regional awards are assigned, all applicants will be entered back into the statewide pool. At that time, priority points will be assigned. In this biennium, the priority points are a 5% calculation. So the score of the application will be times by 1.05, and this will produce an adjusted score or final score, and those scores will be then ranked, and it's an open competition at that point, with the highest scores being awarded. Next slide. At this point, I will turn it over to Paul again for any updates on questions or next part of the presentation.
All right. Appreciate that, Bill. Thank you. All right. So if just to address the slideshow, there is a tab at the top that you may need to select if you haven't. So then Tanasia Bishop is the one sharing the screen if you want to pin her as your speaker as well. So, all right. So I'm going to go, now I got to find my place in the slide deck here. Apologize. I'm going to cover the how to apply in terms of the SM Apply portal. So portal, not portable. Portal, excuse me. So SM Apply stands for SurveyMonkey Apply, and is a specific link that you access off of our website that connects you to the portal for Youth Development Oregon. And so on the screen you can see, oops, sorry, next slide please. On the screen you can see that we have that link there. It also is linked on our website for that information. SM Apply also has a great resource page should you run into any challenges with using that program itself. Appreciate Melissa, who also posted that in the chat for you to access as well. So these next few slides, just to be clear, you probably won't be able to read the actual SM Apply language within it very clearly, and that's on purpose because this is just a screenshot of what is currently on the screen. And so to access the SM Apply application portal, you first go to the YDO SM Apply link, and then you're either going to log in if you have registered as an applicant prior, or you're going to go ahead and register, which will take you through a registration process to access those grants. Next slide, please. So once you are logged in, it'll take you to a screen that has the different grant applications that are available to you to access. It may also include your reporting applications for if you are a current grantee with us. So you're going to want to select or find the desired grant application and select Start on that. Next slide, please. From there, you'll be taken to the application screen that has, it's kind of a split screen. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, it has how many tasks are complete. In this case, there's 0 of 9 tasks. And then you're going to have some buttons there, which you'll see will change colors once you've completed all of your tasks. You also have a button there that says you can add a collaborator. And so that would be somebody that you may want to help with the application. Just an important note, you'll notice that my name is listed there as owner. The person that has that category of owner is the only one that can officially hit the green submit button when you've completed all of your tasks. You'll see that in the next slide, but we get a lot of questions about that. So there is only one person, and that's the person who started the application is considered the owner. So then on the right-hand side, oops, sorry, if we go ahead and go back one, on the right-hand side are all the tasks that you can complete or that you'll need to complete as part of the application. And so it will walk you through step by step. You can navigate through those different tasks. Just a really important note that task 3 is the letter of re-engagement partnership requirements, and it is a 2-part task. So it's going to take you through those questions that Jared showed earlier through that process, and it'll help you define and also put down some contact information who's in there within that. And then it will open the task 3 of that letter of partnership. So if we go to the next slide, a couple things to note specifically about the letters of partnership. I don't think most people that have applied it for our applications in the past have utilized this or had to access this function. So just note that request will be sent by the applicant in SM Apply. And so on the right-hand side of your screen, or on this slide, you'll notice that in the second part of task 3, you'll have a green button that says request a recommendation. You're going to have to select that button to send a request for recommendation to one of your partners. And the letters will then be submitted. Your partners will receive an email remind them to check their spam folder, because sometimes these can get lost into there, and they'll complete it, and then they'll submit it back through the SM Apply. A note as for an applicant is that the contact information that you list in the first task of task 3 needs to match the letter of recommendation who you send it to. So they're going to complete that as well. So if I'm sending a letter of recommendation to Bill, you're just on my screen, so I'm going to use you. If I'm sending a letter of recommendation to Bill, I'm going to want to make sure I put Bill Hansel as the contact person in my response of who's filling it out, and then they'll obviously put their name in that recommendation as well. And just again, can't stress enough, the applicant must initiate sending that letter. And so I would not recommend waiting until the 59th day of this RFA being open to complete that task. That's why those tasks can be completed in any order. You're going to want to get working on those re-engagement partnership letters for sure. So the next slide, please. So the next slide, so you've gone through, you've completed all of your tasks. Your green checkbox will not appear for task 3, the second part, until all of your recommendation letters have been submitted back to you, or a minimum of 2 have been submitted back to you. So once all of those checkboxes are green, your submit button will turn green as well. And it's a reminder, you have to be the owner to be able to hit that. So if you're a collaborator, it will not turn green, even if everything's complete. The owner is one will have to hit that submit button to submit your application prior to the deadline of the application. All right. I think that's the end of my.
Paul, when's the deadline?
Apply.
What time's the deadline?
It's 4 p.m., but I do not know. Jared's actually going to cover that. Great question, Sally. Jared's going to cover that in the RFA schedule. So pay attention to what Jared's going to talk about with the RFA schedule. All right, next slide, please. Jared, I'll turn it back to you and see where we are with questions.
All right. So RFA schedule. Next slide, please. So this chart is also in the RFA in section 1.4. So this will just take you through some important dates to answer that question that just came in. The close of the RFA is June 9th, 2025 at 4 p.m. And that's in on the very cover of the RFA. That date is listed. But here you'll see a pre-application conference today. As we mentioned, if you're not one of those eligible entities, but you want to appeal to apply for this grant, that appeal date is April 24th, 2025 by 4 p.m. Questions or requests for clarification are due to us by May 8th. And again, all of those questions have to be sent through the single point of contact, Bethany Moreland, listed in this RFA by May 8th at 4 p.m. Answers to those questions, we will be providing a Q&A answer document approximately around May 15th. And then the close of RFA is June 9th. And that is also the deadline by which you need to submit a request to change your region. So if you intend to primarily offer services in a region that is not your region where you fall in, where your business address falls, that request needs to be submitted by close of RFA. Close of RFA, June 9th at 4 p.m. We anticipate issuing the intent to award notification around August 7th. And then there will be an appeals period, award protest period, that ends 7 calendar days after that notice. Right, and I think I might be turning it back to Paul now.
Yes, sorry, I could not find my video or my audio button. I'm a little gun shy of the whole Zoom right now. All right, so if we can, Taneja, we can go back one slide. So I just do want to, I noticed something, I saw it in the chat. Yes, it is Pacific Standard Time at 4 p.m. So we will make sure that get that clarified, but appreciate that question for those folks that might be in a different time zone in Oregon for us. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, and if you want to go to the next slide. So again, we have posted Bethany's email there, and also on the left-hand side, just some information about the job and work readiness and community investment RFA releases, or the upcoming ones within that. So the current RFA that is open that we've discussed throughout this presentation is our Re-engagement Opportunity Grant that did open on April 10th. The anticipated RFA releases of the next 2, so the Job and Work Readiness Grant, an estimated launch on Thursday, April 24th. 2025, and then the estimated launch for the Community Investment Grant is on Thursday, May 8th, 2025. And as a reminder, each of these RFAs do have this requirement to attend the pre-application conference or watch that as part of the RFA. So you'll want to make sure to take note of those timelines when they are posted within that side. So I'm going to hit pause so I can go back to questions and work on addressing those. And I'll kind of read through them maybe so that I don't have to sit here and cut and paste within that. So there was a question of what is the cutoff score for the highest regional score? We're going to have to research that more. We did not know that right offhand, so that'll be addressed in the question and answer, official question and answer responses. Letters of educational services and career services, are those letters part of the 2 to 4 required? Yes. So the maximum letters that you can upload are 4, and you'll need to meet within those requirements and to review the RFA information for more details around which specific ones are required. Let me make note of which ones I'm addressing verbally so we know. All right. Can a partnership include a high school that recommends a group of youth, or do the youth need to be brought into the program one by one? A high school, school district, or ESD that recommends youth can be a re-engagement partner. So that recommendation for a school or district would make a youth eligible for a program within that piece. Will there be any technical assistance offered for this grant? Yes, technical assistance is provided to our successful applicants by YDO grant managers. That's why we have all of our grant managers help and support behind the scenes on this as well. All right. Do students need to be documented? If so, what is the document requirements for these youth? How will data be protected? So the immigration status of youth is not taken into consideration for eligibility of services under the Re-engagement Opportunity Grant, and the data requirements are listed within the RFA, which does include name, date of birth, race, ethnicity on that. And our data is collected and maintained through a secure data management system. And if you are successful as an applicant, that will be discussed during our project plan meeting. Will the letter writers also need to create an SM Apply account? That's a great question. Should have covered that when I was talking about it. I'll add that to the slides. But no, they do not. They will receive an email and a link to go in and complete that. And also as an applicant, you will be able to see their responses once they submit them back within that. So if my organization already has an account, I'll be a collaborator. Should I start an account as an individual? Yeah, we ask that everybody creates their own individual account instead of the organization account. It gets kind of messy within SM Apply for how we utilize that piece. So again, if you can create your own individual account as well as the owner, is very helpful in that process. So define the partnership. Define partnership. We will provide that definition in the follow-up addendum as well as Q&A documentation. So just a note on that. I think the folks that are pulling these from chat are typing feverishly, so I appreciate that on that side. On a tribal side of this grant, is there a contract with the tribes and the state that will be able to apply for this grant? So that'll be further addressed in the question and answer document, but the short answer is that we are currently working on that. The statewide re-engagement system goals, we will again address that in the Q&A, but if you review the RFA, the statewide youth re-engagement system goals are outlined in, I believe, the second section of the RFA, but again, please visit that table of contents posted with the RFA. All right. I recognizing that we are at 12:30. I know we're addressing a couple more questions, so I'll let our staff get caught up in addressing those questions. But appreciate everybody's flexibility and understanding I've never had a bad Zoom link. So appreciate everybody's flexibility in receiving that new Zoom link and adjusting that side. But we want to make sure that we do honor your time in that work. And just as another reminder, as you can see on the screen, any of your questions following this presentation, please do submit them to Bethany Moreland within that, and then stay tuned to see the other upcoming RFA releases in the coming weeks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Taneja, you can officially